won the war, no question about it. Let's see what's going on over here. Trump reportedly ripped Netanyahu in phone call. And was quoted as saying, "You're fucking crazy. I'm saving your ass." Trump soon after announced the shooting will stop in Lebanon. Oops. It looks like their boy isn't so easy to handle. Odd to handle now. Okay. Oh boy, strategy Michael Saylor just sold 32 Bitcoin. In February, he said, we are not going to be selling. So if selling 32 Bitcoin is not selling, then what is selling? What's my best guess at what Trump's going to do now? Well, that's a very good question, because I think, you know how sometimes your grandpa would get mad and he'd yell, and then later he'd come back in the room and he'd go, "Oh, sorry, I just needed to nap, a cup of coffee. I'm fine. You know, just don't stand on my lawn anymore." You know, that kind of thing. That may be what happens, because Netanyahu gave Trump a golden pager as a very clear message of what Israel's intentions are if he gets out of line. I remember being in Beverly Hills, and I was at my mentor's office, and he said to me, "You know, kid, the best kind of politician." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "Well, the old saying is that a good politician is one who stays bought." And I said, "Jesus Christ, Dan, that's a pretty cynical way of looking at it, don't you think?" And keep in mind, I was, 28. He was probably 58 and already a billionaire a couple times over. And he said, "Listen, son, this is just the way it is. It's cynical, yeah, but it's true. Politicians are basically they're like businessmen, except they don't have the common sense to be businessmen. And they operate too much on fear to be businessmen. So that makes them easy to handle." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, on the one hand, you offer them a carrot, and on the other hand, you offer them the stick. And because of their fear, and because they want power so badly, they think power is the key to life, when it's not. Money is power. Power in and of itself can be taken away in a heartbeat. But if you have an enormous amount of resources, assets, money, then it's much tougher to take your power away, because you can do things from behind the scenes. You don't need that public display." And I thought, wow, phew, that's a tough one. At the time, I remember thinking to myself, Dan's a good dude. He's a good guy, but I think he's gotten a little cynical in his old age. And, when you're 28 and somebody's 58, you think of that as old age. And unfortunately, I'd be a lot less disappointed in the world if I had taken that sage advice to heart way back then and just sort of given up on politics completely and just said, screw it. I mean, if you got some silver quarters, I'm interested for sure. I'm always interested. Anything that's silver, I'm interested. But, it's just one of those things where you can't bet on anything happening. We don't know what Trump's going to do, because we don't know what his handlers are going to force him to do. You have to understand that since Trump took office, they've committed so many felonies and broken so many laws and done so many things that are so unethical. And, the Democrats are screaming and the Republicans are screaming, screw you. Biden did this, Obama did that, Clinton did this. I mean, just go back as far as you want. Go back to the 20s. FDR did this, and I mean, it's well, you think that Trump's bad. Well, McKinley, it's like, what? How fucking far back do we want to go? How much of this stupid name calling do we want to do while we literally sit in our own little camps and throw rocks at each other? Yeah, the Bidens were a crime family. Yeah, the Trumps are a crime family. Yeah, the Clintons are a crime family. Yes, the Bushes were a crime family. That's it. They're all the same. You're right. They're the same. It's the same group of people, and depending on who comes to you first early on in your career. Oh, Sean, I'm not wrong. Listen, do some homework and then tell me I'm wrong. They're all exactly the same. What are you, 12? Dan told me this a long time ago. The Bushes are not. The Bushes? You're going to pick the Bush family? Are you shitting me? No, I don't think of the Obamas are a crime family. Look at them. They came from nowhere. They went back to nowhere. They were just a tool. He was a half black guy at the exact right moment, and he had all the right things to say, and he was kind of cool, had a little swagger, and they were like, "Hey, I'll bet we can get this guy elected." Sure enough, as soon as he told J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon that he wasn't going to prosecute anybody for that whole 2008 thing, he zipped right past Hillary Clinton, just blew past her. Well, how did he blow past her? Well, he got hundreds of millions of dollars. From who? From the financial industry. That's it. Yeah, Gladiator, I just said, he's not part of a crime family. But was he a criminal? Well, I mean, come on. The guy takes over at the beginning of 2009, right? Height of the financial crisis. Everything is falling apart. And what does he say? Exactly. Verbatim, what does he say? Well, we can always look over our shoulder and try and drive in the rearview mirror, or you guys can grab a mop and try to help me clean this mess up. Oh, all right. Well, you know what? You're right. Let's not look in the rearview mirror. Let's grab a mop and let's go ahead and clean this mess up. Okay, well, what do you mean clean this mess up? Well, I mean bail out the banks and not prosecute a single fucking human being. Why do you think I'm in the silver industry? Because I saw that. I saw exactly what went down, and I went, no way. That's it. That was the key right there. September 15th, 2008 is when I went into the silver business again, because I saw right then. I actually started planning it months ahead of time, obviously. You don't open your doors without a business license and without forming an LLC and all that shit. So they don't want to be the leader for the next 500 years, bro. They could have been leaders 100 times over. They've got a huge population. They've got resources. They just don't want to. They fought a war with Russia and just absolutely kicked Russia's ass in 2 weeks, and it was over. Okay, so why didn't they just take over Siberia with all that stuff? Because they didn't want to. They're called the Middle Kingdom for a reason. They're happy with their place in the world. Now, if they can control the world from right where they are, they will. Will it last for 500 years? No. You're right. It is my opinion, and it's based on a lot of research. Look, when was the last time you saw the Chinese go out and try to take over the globe with their hundreds of millions of people, and now maybe as many as a billion people? They want Taiwan. Taiwan is China. Bro, that's like if a bunch of us moved to Puerto Rico and then told the United States, even worse, it's like if we moved to fucking Catalina or Hawaii and said, hey, you know what? This is a new country. What do you think Washington, D.C. would do? Literally, think about it. Genghis Khan. Not sure that's a good one. He's Mongolian. And he actually kicked the shit out of the Chinese. Well, I'm just saying, look, you guys, we own Hawaii. That's my point. You know what Taiwan was called before it was Taiwan? It's the island of Formosa. It was China. It's been China for 1,000 years, probably 5,000 years. The point is that a bunch of people ran to what they called Taiwan in the 50s because communists didn't have a navy. So they all ran over there and said, hey, this is a new country. Like if we didn't agree with the government in Washington and we all ran to Hawaii and said, hey, Hawaii's a country now. We're going to call it Western America. What would happen in Washington, D.C.? They'd say, no, you're a breakaway state. You can't secede from the nation that easily. And we go, yeah, we can. We did. What are you going to do about it? Well, if it didn't have a navy, they'd say, well, shit, you know what? Give us a minute. We'll figure it out. That's the problem. Taiwan is China. You can call it whatever you want. So the people in Taiwan, the Taiwanese, they're Chinese people. And their great-grandparents lived in China. That's the whole point. Now, the last time we ran from Europe, great. Look what happened. We fought like hell for years, decades, a couple centuries before we finally broke away. So if that's what has to happen with Taiwan, and that's what has to happen with Taiwan. But they're trying to break away from China. Now, on the one hand, we say China is great and they're our biggest trade ally. On the other hand, we say they're evil and they're communist, and Taiwan should be allowed to be its own free, happy, independent, Mr. Rogers neighborhood. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. What side are we on here? China's our biggest trading partner. They're not now. Who's not? And there is there as opposed to they are. Oh. China's not our biggest partner. Really? Sean, do you know who is our biggest trading partner? Curious. I thought you could educate me. Not anymore. Okay, well, who is? Silver. That's a good question. Let's check. Let us check on silver. And we don't need a trading partner. Oh my God. John, you need to finish high school. Trump is destroying the country. I'm not going to argue with that. Did Taiwan borrow U.S. money? No. No, as a matter of fact, I believe that they buy our bonds, which means they loan us money, as well as China, as well as Japan, as well as Germany, France, not so much, but the United Kingdom a lot. I mean, it's crazy. Let's see, where are we at as far as silver today? That's probably going to be right around 75, if I had to guess. And it's, come on, it is 75. There you go. It's a 25 cents. It's just holding, and it's just going to keep holding. And the reason it's going to keep holding is because nobody knows what comes next. We got a president that can't remember what day it is, and which is ironic as hell because he was so much clearer minded than Biden initially. And now when I see him speak publicly, it's just I can't watch anymore. Well, yes, silver 75, but you have to pay. Well, I'll tell you. Let's go see what the boys want. What you guys want nowadays? Silver rounds. Let's get ourselves some nice 1 ounce silver rounds, shall we? $84.78. What? 84? Really? And that's if you buy over 500 ounces. It's actually 85.78. So it is okay. It's actually $10 over spot. Wow. That's you know what, Bob? Or you think you're smarter than Trump? Of course. There's absolutely no question in my mind. If you have to work 20 hours a day, your sharpness does decline. Work 20 hours a day. Come on. He's up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing True Social texts with memes of him putting his hands on dying people and healing them. That's not work. Okay, memes are not work. When I'm surfing the internet and I'm watching stuff about ancient Egypt, I don't lie to people and go, "Oh yeah, man, I'm doing research for the silver business," because Egyptians dug silver too. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's $10 over spot. Now keep in mind, this is APMEX, American Precious Metals Exchange. That's what APMEX stands for. So let's go to somebody who doesn't beat your ass on price. By the way, APMEX, very reliable. I love APMEX. As a matter of fact, if I didn't love APMEX, I wouldn't be a wholesaler for APMEX, which I am. I'm a wholesaler of theirs. So they're legit, totally. And then they, good coins, etc. If it says 999 and APMEX on it, if they made it, it's 999. Thank you, appreciate that. I could be that man for you. Big C, I don't really know what to say if you're a man. Be the first to know about our exclusive deals. No, later. I'll get your super duper deals later. Okay. Now buffaloes, 1 ounce buffaloes, $80.59. So they're about $5 over spot. $5 over spot. Okay, I'm good with that. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of yard work to do if that's what you're talking about there, Big C. So we're looking at about $5 over. Now, this is, by the way, is SE bullion. I'll still beat their price. Just saying, beat their price. Am I a wholesaler for them? SD bullion? Yes, I am a wholesaler for SD bullion as well. Absolutely. And let's see. Holy moly, $82.25 for money metals. And money metals is actually a lot cheaper than most. Still not cheaper than me. Just so we're clear, not cheaper than me. Okay. Now, if you wanted, by the way, I didn't answer your question from, there you go, Bob. It's funny. That's why I was literally turning back to say, I didn't answer your question. I like coins. Some people actually like bars better. It's a matter of preference. Now, if you're buying bars, let me give you an example. You got $5 million, okay? Hypothetical. I mean, I hope you do. Good for you. But if you've got $5 million, you buy bars. You buy big ass bars. You buy 1,000 ounce bars, or at least a lot of 100 ounce bars, because you're storing money. That's all you're doing. You're storing money. If you're using it because, hey man, the shit might really hit the fan very soon. Okay, that's actually extremely valid. More than most people understand. It's terrifyingly valid. Then you want small denominations, and the reason for that is you may actually have to use it as money. Cards are awesome as well. Now, cards are usually a little more expensive, but the cards are very thin. They're 1 troy ounce. They basically look like a credit card. If I were gonna choose between all of them, I would say it really just depends on what you like. If you go over about 10 ounce bars, I think you're making a mistake. Mongolia. I have never been to Ulaanbaatar, which is the capital of Mongolia, but I'd like to someday. I only buy Pokemon cards. Some people might think that sounds idiotic, but I know how Americans are. And I remember things like Beanie Babies or American Girl dolls, I believe they were called, and people were paying outrageous amounts of money. So I'm cool with that. 5 ounces. You have 5 ounces, or you want to buy 5 ounces, because usually it's 1 ounce or 10 ounce. Don't have 5 mil yet, Bob. Yet. Come on now. You could. You might. Don't give up yet. Okay, so the reason that I say that I'm talking about shit hitting the fan is because I don't think people understand. I really don't think that most people understand, and I'm okay with this. I don't think most people understand just how bad it's going to get as far as the economy. We already put ourselves in a position where we are going to be riding a very, very, very thin line between recession and depression. If we don't get this war over with soon, we are going to go over that line completely and utterly. And at that point, we will have a depression, which nobody wants. I don't want, you don't want, trust me, there's nothing good about a depression. I will say that right now, we're not on that path. We're on a path for a heavy recession. That's a fact. Now, for those of you who don't know, the difference between a recession and a depression is actually fairly large. A recession is whenever your GDP, your gross domestic product, drops below zero for more than 2 consecutive quarters. If you have a negative GDP for over 6 months, even if it's just by 0.01%, technically you're in a recession. In order to be in a depression, your GDP has to go down by a minimum of 10%, and it has to stay there for 2 years. And yes, Bob, you're technically right in the sense that it has been a recession. They just keep changing the metrics so that it doesn't really look like it. I don't think Iran is going to give in. No. They are definitely going to force our hand. There's no question. The Iranians see this as basically 2 things now: the holy war against the state of Israel, not necessarily Jews. You have to understand that there are millions of Jews that live in Iran. Okay, don't get it twisted. The Iranians don't have a problem with Jews per se. They have a problem with the state of Israel. They don't believe that the state of Israel should exist in the way it does now, where basically, they said to the Palestinians, hey, we'd like to stay with you guys for a few weeks, moved in, and then kicked the Palestinians out. Mongolia is loaded with rare earth. Yeah, absolutely. Mongolia, basically all of that area, not just Mongolia, but all of Siberia. And when you're talking about Siberia, it's such an enormous place that when you really stop to look at it, the amount of USAs that you could fit into the Russian Federation is amazing. Let's see. Can we just take the land by the street? No, absolutely not. You have to understand. Here's the biggest problem that when you look at Iran from the sea. Okay, let's say you're going through the Strait of Hormuz. Look over to one side, and there's Oman. Okay, it's not UAE. The very tip of the peninsula is Oman. You look over, and Oman is hilly. It's rocky. It's barren. You look over to the other side, and it's mountainous. I mean, it's just like these enormous mountains. And there's mountain ridge valley, mountain ridge valley, mountain ridge valley. It's incredible. It's literally like the Sierra Nevada mountains. Row after row after row. And it goes all the way along the shoreline. There are a few breaks where they have like the oil depots. But for the most part, it is just this enormous mountain range. In that mountain range, there are so many tight box canyons and whatnot, and it's like there's so many places to hide so much stuff. Chems, yeah, let's not even go there because now you're talking about genocide, and that's no bueno. We don't do that. That's what Israel does, not us. We're still supposed to be above that. I appreciate it. Discussing gold bars, discussing the economy. I like that. Oh, big deal. Yeah, actually, it is a big deal. Because when you're no better than them, why fight them? Why fight them? Like, why have any moral high ground? But then again, if you're not going to have any moral high ground, then it boils down to, just every man for himself. And you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. Especially if you don't have a huge group of extremely armed friends. Fight them for the street cred. Okay, well, I'm not really sure how to even that's just sad to even say shit like that. Because you have to understand, if you have children, imagine them blown into 300 or 400 pieces and going scooping them off the ground. Or your mom and your dad. Okay, that's war. Never been to it, you can tell. We did it to Japan. No, we didn't. We didn't. That's completely different. Japan was, we're going to lose 1 million men by invading Japan mainland. We're going to lose 1 million men, period. No question about it. We had better keep bombing. Not going to help. How about Dresden? Hey, man. Talk to the guys who did Dresden. I wasn't there for that. With their oil infrastructure to produce more. Well, when you say we shouldn't be helping, who's we? I'm not helping. I'm not making any money from that. I'm still paying over $5 a gallon for premium. We're not, that's not us, dude. That's a bunch of oil companies. And they may be U.S. companies or Royal Dutch Shell or British Petroleum. They don't give a shit what country they're in. If you're buying gas, you're helping. Period. Help steal everything from Africa. Why nothing ever gets done here? Well, because it's about money. You have to understand something. When you're talking about war, you're talking about economics. We don't have wars for fun. We have wars for economics. Oil companies aren't making tons of cash right now. Okay, you got to stop saying stupid shit like that. That's stupid. They are making enormous amounts of money. They're making record profits right now. You clearly don't understand the oil industry, so just shut up. That's nuts that you said that. That's fucking crazy. They're making more now than they've ever made, ever. They're literally talking about their record profits. Where are you from, bro? Come on. Jesus Christ. Oh, I hate dealing with stupid people. Okay. They're making billions of dollars a week now, not a year, a week. You have to understand something. When Saudi Arabia gets oil out of the ground, what do they do with it? They sell it to an oil company who makes a fortune. 5 cents a gallon, $5 a gallon is still cheap relative to the cost of everything. I'm glad you think so. I am super glad you think so. No, Terry, you have to understand something. The oil that comes out of the ground in the United States, that's not your oil. I know it's a natural resource, but it's not your natural resource. Even if it comes out of the ground on government land, the government doesn't share that profit with us. They keep it for national defense. So, no, it's not your money. And when we pull oil out of the ground now, we have hundreds of tankers sitting in the Gulf of America waiting to be filled up to go to other countries with that oil. So if you want to buy that oil in the form of gasoline, you have to compete. You got to compete with Europe. You got to compete with China. You have to compete with India. All these places that don't have enough oil for themselves. Indonesia. You literally have to compete with them. Otherwise, that oil goes to them because they'll pay more. That's why oil prices or gas prices are as high as they are. We don't try to. There's nobody trying to protect the American people. Okay, protect the American oil companies. Of course, that's what the Navy's for. Protect, banks. Of course, that's what taxpayers are born to do. We're all here to protect them. They're not here to protect you. There is no such thing as protection for the American citizen anymore. If you're a citizen of the United States of America, if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or a socialist or a Green Party member, there is no institution that stands up for you. Period. There are no politicians that stand up for you. They might say they do, might show up in an ICE detention center so that they can get arrested on TV. Woo, made my base get a bunch of hard-ons, the ones that haven't been sex changed yet. And then you see the ICE people out there arresting some pregnant Mexican girl, and you're like, yeah, get rid of those terrorists. And it's like, what? That's what they do. That's the whole point of this. It's all a show. And when it comes down to protecting you, no, why would they? Well, Iran might have nuclear weapons someday. Okay. You've been saying that for 47 years. Well, yeah, but someday they might. So we had to go to war with them now. Okay, why'd you really go to war? Because Israel was going to. Oh, well, you said it out loud. Yeah, but we didn't mean that. No, you said it out loud. Marco Rubio said it out loud. The President of the United States said it out loud. The Vice President said it out loud. The Secretary of Defense said it out loud. Yeah, but we didn't mean it. Oh, okay. So we didn't go to war because of Israel. Well, I mean, clearly, they're our greatest ally. Sure they are. Greatest ally we ever had. With allies like that, who needs enemies? You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is this: we're going to pay an enormous amount. By the way, they're making it harder and harder to buy gold and silver. Why do you think that is? Now, if you want to sell silver to a silver dealer in the state of Arizona, you have to show an ID. You have to prove to them who you are. You can't just walk in and sell it and get cash. No, not as of this year. Why is that? Well, private sales are still okay. Well, what's a private sale? Well, between two people, Okay, but if I am a bullion dealer, oh yeah, you got to know, you got to get everybody's ID. Nope, not going to do it. Bottom line is, I am probably the only bullion dealer left that when I say that I want my clients to have anonymity, I don't put anybody's email in a computer anywhere. I don't write down anybody's account information. I don't do that for a reason. Now, is it because I have a photographic memory? Sure. I had to show in Pennsylvania. See? No state did this 5 years ago. Why are they trying to make it just a little bit more difficult now? Because they know what the future holds for gold and silver. Silver is going to be $300 an ounce, minimum. Well, wait a minute. What happens then? Well, then everybody says, you know what? Screw this, man. I'm tired of the stock market up and down bullshit. I'm tired of these booms and busts. If silver's gone up 1,620% since 2000. That's good enough. But God, I wish I could go back and in 2000 just start buying then. Just like an IRA, and just put money into silver, period, nothing else. None of this other bullshit. There you go. And then what happens when you're 55 or 60? What happens 20 years later? Well, shit. You put away 100,000, and now it's worth 450, 500,000. Hell, that's not even right. I've got a guy. I guarantee you he's on here watching right now. And, he bought, I don't know, $500,000 worth. And it's worth $2.5 million now. And he purchased it in the last few years. Okay, well, how much can this shit go up, really? Like what are we talking about here? Well, I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. Over the last 2 years, because over the last year it's gone up 150%. Oh, absolutely. Selling it, they're just going to make more restrictions on buying it. That's going to be the key to this, is the restrictions are going to come when it comes to buying it. They're going to start for all kinds of information. Where are you storing it? What is it? How much did you pay for it exactly? Well, is it taxable? Did you make money on it? How much did you pay for it? If they call me and ask me how much you paid for it, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't keep records. It's not because I'm trying to cheat anybody. I'm not trying to cheat the IRS. Hell, I love the IRS. I want them to make as much as they can. Look, man, I'll drop the soap. You don't even have to drop the soap. I'll drop the fucking soap myself. You have at it back there, boys. You get me. But here's my point. I'm terrible at record keeping. I'm just terrible at it. So I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can. In the last year, silver's up 128%. Really? 128%? I don't know, Samuel. Cheap? You think they're keeping it down to keep it cheap to buy? It's up 128% in the last 12 months. 128.42%. Now, here's the thing: if I was talking about something dangerous, like, hey, let's buy Nvidia stock. Okay, well, what's Nvidia do? Well, they make chips, and the chips are for what? For all kinds of crazy stuff, like AI. But is AI really going to work? It fucking better. Why? Because Nvidia is like $1 trillion company. If it doesn't work, their valuation is insane. Okay, so should we buy it? Does everybody love AI? No, nobody loves AI. The people who use it are sick of it, and the people who don't use it because they're terrified of it. Oh, but they buy Nvidia stock, and it's based on AI being explosively successful. That almost seems stupid. And here we are, me and my silver over in the corner doing our little great grandpa collecting silver. Yeah, a penny earned is a penny saved is a penny earned. You know, that's what my grandbaby taught me. So I invest in this old fashioned bullshit over here. It's gone up 360.02% in 10 years. That's 36% annually. Can you say that your IRA is making 36% annually? I mean, yes, you can say it. But can you be honest and say it? No, you can't. Well, wait a minute. Why can't BlackRock make this? Well, they're taking all the risks. They're doing all this stuff, right? I mean, let's look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500 index, I mean, shit, over the last 10 years, it's almost exactly 100% less than silver. In the last 10 years, it's gone up 262%. Now think about this. The S&P 500 index is an index of 500 stocks, okay, across the board. However, they're heavily weighted towards total value of the corporation, which means the S&P 500 index is actually an index of 7 stocks. 7, the magnificent 7. Well, wait a minute, why? I thought it was 500 stocks. Most of them don't count at all towards the value of the S&P. It's 7 stocks. Well, shit, that doesn't sound nearly as safe as investing across the board in 500. No, it's not. It's not safe at all. If you buy the S&P 500 index, you're buying 7 stocks. And if those 7 stocks take a shit, so does your entire portfolio. Your IRA, your 401k, it's gone. Well, wait a minute, but look, you do it because the S&P 500 index is up 262.95% over 10 years. That's a lot. That's 26.9% annually. 26.9% annually. Most people would absolutely kiss the fucking ground that I walk on if I could make them 8%. Except I don't make people 8%. And I don't make them 26%. I make them 35.946. Because instead of 260%, silver's gone up 359%. So take the risks, get into high-tech bio stocks and crazy AI and data centers and all that shit, or just buy silver, set it in the closet, forget that it's there, and get rich. Of course you can buy silver. You can definitely buy silver. Call me. Hey, remember, here's the secret right here. That's the secret number. You know, call that number. I've got silver. And by the way, where can silver go from here? Well, now baseball cards, come on, James, you got to be really knowledgeable. Okay? You got to be super, super knowledgeable. I'm looking around to see if I have any silver sitting on the desk here, because the reality is this. Silver is silver. So you don't have to be super knowledgeable. Okay? When it comes to something like silver, where could it go? Well, they're talking about revaluing gold. Okay, right now gold is valued by the United States government at $42. Do I buy physical or on? Oh, absolutely physical. Mark, here's the thing about SLV and buying through the COMEX and all that stuff. Those numbers are done on purpose to hold the price down. That's what they. If you actually read why they came up with SLV and GLD, these funds, it's crazy. It actually says right in the formation paperwork in the early 70s. Because what happened was they literally took us off the gold standard in 71, right? And all of a sudden, gold and silver started going, and they were like, "Oh shit, this makes our money look really terrible. This makes the dollar look weak. The precious metals are going up. We need a way to make the precious metals go down." Somebody said, "Well, if we had a parallel market in paper, the paper market, we could use the paper market to manipulate the physical market." Well, how do you do that? Well, here's how much you've got in physical. That's it. Now, you and I can bicker all day long about how much this is worth. And then when somebody else comes along and buys it, we're done talking. It's gone. Well, but I thought it was worth 400. Well, I told you it was worth 4,500. Well, but then the guy came along and he bought it for 4,600. Yeah, you shouldn't have argued with me. Sorry, it's physical. There's no more. There's only a certain amount. That's what makes it valuable. It's so hard to get. It is a store of value. You don't just print gold. But if you're on the COMEX and you have SLV, you can just print more SLV shares. Okay, well, how does a share work? Well, you buy a contract. Contract's 5,000 ounces. Oh, all right, well, that sounds pretty straightforward. How many contracts are there? Oh, there's tens of thousands of contracts. You do the math. Like 100 million ounces? No, it's more like several billion ounces that they're playing with. Do they have several billion ounces? No. How can they sell something they don't have? Because they know you're not going to ask for it. You don't want delivery of it because you're not a silver guy. You're an investor. You don't care what you're investing in. You could be investing in horse shit, but it's high-grade fertilizer, so who cares? You make money on it. It doesn't matter. Here's the problem. When people start asking for delivery of it, if you don't have it, now you have a problem. 296 million ounces just walked out of COMEX vaults last month, and nobody knows who bought it. That's the first time in history that's ever happened. Nobody can say who bought that 296 million ounces. What? Wait, the price hasn't gone up. If that much just disappeared, why didn't the price go up? Because they're scared that if the price goes up anymore on gold and silver, it's going to reflect the value of the dollar. It's going to make the dollar look shitty. It's going to make our economy look weak. So, well, how do you push the price down? It's very, very easy. Because of SLV and GLD, we have these really cool, like, manipulative things that we can do. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you and I, we decide, hey, silver's going up. How much do you want? Let's go to COMEX. Let's get 50,000 ounces. Well, that's 10 contracts. Yeah, 10 contracts. All right, cool. How much do we have to put up for a contract? You got to put up $3,000 per contract. Okay, and we're going to get 10 contracts. Okay, so that's 30 grand. Yeah, 30 grand. Okay, cool. All right, so that's a tiny percentage of the metal that we actually control. So I'm controlling this much silver with this much money. Ooh, that's sexy as shit, isn't it? Like, I can control $1 billion. I need $1 billion. Ooh, I don't know why. That just, oh man, that gives me tinglies in my jellies. Okay, but here's the problem. All of a sudden, 2 o'clock a Friday morning, okay? It's about to be Friday business day, but it's 2 a.m. Friday morning. And all of a sudden, COMEX changes their rules and they go, look, we said 3,000 per contract, but we're changing it. It's going to be 12,000 per contract as of right now. You have 24 hours to comply. Wait, what? So wait, hold on. So we got 30 grand, but you're telling us we need 4 times that. We need 120,000 to stay in the market? Yes. Otherwise, we liquidate your contracts. Well, we don't have it. Well, you better sell your contracts, get what you can. Motherfucker. All right, well, all right, we're going to sell. You sell. Maybe, if you're lucky, you cover what you put in. Maybe you don't. That's how they control the price. Because all of a sudden, I've got, say, what did we have, 50,000 ounces that we controlled? Boom, you got to sell right now. That's 50,000 ounces that just came on the market. Oh, and another 50, and 500, and 750,000 ounces. And oh, that guy was controlling 4 million ounces. He's a baller. And guess what? He's pissed. But he gets the game. He understands what just happened. So he sells too. Everybody sells in one day. Price goes from 120 down to 60. That's exactly what just happened. The COMEX raised the amount that you have to margin. The whole market shook it off. First time in history. Everybody in the market was like, are you going to raise our rate? Okay, we'll come up with it. COMEX was like, what? Oh, shit. Price kept going up. And people were like, okay, now what? Do it again. Raise the margin again. They raised the margin again. A couple people sold, but as soon as they sold, somebody jumped in and bought anyway. It was just crazy. Like, nobody gave a shit. And finally, the COMEX raised it a third time over the course of 2 weeks. And they just slammed everybody with this last one. They jumped it up by like 30% in one day. And it just killed everybody that was hanging in there. They just couldn't keep making margin calls over and over and over. And it's like, is it because you're losing money? No, I'm not losing money. Well, then why do you keep having to make margin calls? Because they keep changing the fucking rules on me. Well, why are they changing the rules? Because I'm making too much money too fast and it makes them look bad. And B, they're afraid if these prices keep going up, everybody's going to want delivery. And they know that they've lied to the entire world about how much they have in their vaults. They have maybe 1 ounce for every 500 ounces they've sold. That is what the most, literally the most educated people in the silver game, the guys who do this for a living, hundreds of millions of dollars, they all estimate that COMEX has about 1 ounce for every 500 ounces they've sold. Holy shit, these guys are playing a really dangerous game, except they've always got that kill switch, that let's just raise the rates. So, COMEX, Commodities Exchange, that's what it's short for. You'll also hear CBOE, which is Chicago Board Options Exchange, options on a lot of different commodities. You've got the New York Mercantile, same. It's all basically the same shit. Silver hits 300 and you decide to sell. Who buys at 300 an ounce? At 100, no, it was not. I don't know who you were selling to, but I couldn't get enough fast enough when it was over 100. Literally, I couldn't buy enough silver to make my clients happy over 100. That's why now it's ridiculous to me that I don't have people flooding my phone. I can't believe that I'm not getting flooded with the same people saying, holy shit, I can't believe it's down to 75. Get me more. There was a line out the door at 120. Now that it's at 75, there's no line. It's like, Hello, don't you guys get this? I mean, I remember when it was 30 and it dropped down to 20 and everybody's like, oh, fuck, this market sucks. Really? Really? Does it really suck? Give it a few months. And that's where we're at now. Look, in January, it was 120. Where's it going to go between now and December? I say 150. Now, look, there's some guys in this business that are really good at what they do who are making some outrageous claims. Honestly, I wouldn't take it now, and this is tough. I want to say I wouldn't take it seriously, but these are not like these aren't like the Robert Kiyosaki's. I like Robert. He's a neighbor. He lives down the street. Robert Kiyosaki's a cool